And we are live.
Well, I think the first thing we have to say before we say anything else, even to say hello to everybody, is we are so sorry.
That
We
we
are
are late.
delayed.
Yes, very late.
And it's not Al's fault and it's not my fault. It is the fault of our guest. I'm going to blame Karen completely and absolutely. We do have a guest. Al, why don't you open us up here?
Sure. Welcome to Everything is Attitude, late night edition, right?
Yes. Sorry, everyone.
We welcome Rosemary. How are you?
I'm
Long
good.
time no talk.
I'm good. I'm good.
We did have some technical difficulties with our guest who has been on before. Karen, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Did you hear that? Can you see her?
Yes, we can see her. Yeah. So we're having a good attitude and making it work as best we can, right?
Yeah, I actually have got everybody's wondering what on earth is going on. I'm actually on my iPad with Al, and I'm on my iPhone with Karen. And thank goodness, all I can say is thank goodness for iPhones. That's what I say.
Yeah.
So when Karen is talking, I shall endeavour to hold her up to the screen. I don't know how well everybody will be able to see her, but I think you'll be able to hear her. Not an ideal situation, but it's the best we've got right now, and we've got a great attitude. We've all three of us are laughing about this because it really is a bit of a muck up. But anyway, did you hand over to me? Am I?
Yes, I'm handing it over to you now. Yeah.
Thanks. All right then. Okay. So hello everyone, and hi to Al, my lovely co-host on this show. This is Everything is Attitude. I think you usually say that, Al, but we're all
Yeah.
we're all.
I think I may have said it. We said it twice. That's okay.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Well, we're a bit. What's that lovely word? Discombobulated.
Yes, if Rosemary, if everybody heard us right before the call trying to get Karen on, I think we need to do behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, that would be. Don't you think that would be really, really fun?
Yes.
All right, so I don't know if you can see me and Karen. I'm holding it like this. I'm not sure how long I'll be able to hold it for, but I'm holding it like this, Al. So that you tell me if it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think when she talks, you could do that if you want. It's actually dimming you a bit.
All right.
Yeah.
Can't do that, guys.
You don't want to be dimmed, do you?
No, no. All right. So this evening we have a guest, Karen. She's been on before, talking actually about her, the fact that she is a, what are you, Karen? She is a silver medalist, an international champion, Olympic champion, and she was talking about the kind of attitude it takes to get to that place of being in an Olympic team, working with the team, and so on. But this is a whole different topic. It's a completely different topic, but I know that it's a topic that a lot of people are very interested in, and a lot of people are very keen to know about. Shall we go for this? How to lose weight, or how to manage their weight, because not everybody wants to lose weight and not everybody needs to lose weight, but how to manage your weight. So, Karen, without giving any advertising to any weight program, would you like to tell us what you've been doing for the last however many months, and sort of explain to us what you've been doing and how it's been for you, and then we'll have a discussion about it. So I'm now going to completely disappear from this screen, but I shall be behind my phone, holding the phone for Karen. All right. I'm going to hope that I can hold it long enough there. So, can you?
Okay.
Can you, Al? Can you see Karen?
No, where you're holding it before, we could see her.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we could see her.
Okay. All right, off you go, Don.
Okay. had a lot of stress going on in my life, and I found that I was gaining a lot of weight, like a lot, and I was noticing. And I'm also heading into a big year this year, so my metabolism has changed. So I was noticing that I was just gaining and gaining and gaining. So I decided to take a handle of it before I go into my big 60th year. So for my own health and for different reasons, because I was starting to feel sore in my body, my knees were starting to hurt, different things. So I decided in the new year, I researched a little bit what program would be the best for me, and I decided to sign up, and I have, since the new year, I've been very disciplined, I guess, in following the program and keeping track of my weight and eating differently, for sure, which has really helped me the most. Is that it's not like I'm on a diet. I've just changed my disciplined about it. So and I've actually lost 30 pounds, so I'm down to my goal weight, and now I can kind of manage just kind of staying on track.
So, Karen, even though you probably can't see me, I'm peering behind my phone as we speak here.
Yeah.
But how easy was that for you to do?
There were times where it was difficult, for sure, where I kind of was craving going back to my old habit and eating some of the things that weren't healthy for me, like because I work a lot and I don't have time to prepare, and I live by myself, then I don't have time to prepare a lot of meals, so it's very easy for me to stop at the pizza place and pick up a piece of pizza, or stop and kind of, quickly get something. I was eating too much fast food, was what it was, actually. And so this way, they sent me the food and I had it at home, so it was kind of nice to go home and know I had something that was ready for me, and I actually liked the food, so that helped a lot. But sometimes it was hard, because the other night I was craving pizza, but I went home and thought, well, they have pizza, I'll just make their pizza, and it was okay. It wasn't the same, obviously, as the pizza you get at the pizza place, but it was still good. So it's just about being disciplined and staying on track and staying with my goal to because I know it's better for my health. And as I kept doing this, I did find that my body was feeling better. I thought I would have less energy, which is mostly, again, about attitude. My attitude initially was like, oh no, I'm going to have less energy. I was assuming something, and I didn't. I actually had way more energy, but I had to be more organized in my eating, like organized in getting my meals prepared for lunch, and so it was time consuming for me a little bit more, but it worked out better in the end because I knew it was healthier style.
Right, I've got to put my arm down, so for a minute anyway. So I do have some things to say and to talk about, so for everybody out there, Karen can now see me on my iPhone, so you can see me and you can hear me quite clearly, right, Karen?
Yes.
Can you hear Karen?
We can, yeah, we can. Yeah.
So as I'm talking, then, Karen. I think we'll listen to you. We'll hear your voice, and every now and again, I'll put you back up on the screen. But it's hard for me to hold that phone,
Yeah, Jeff, can you raise the volume of the phone a little bit? Jeff was saying, is that as high as it goes?
Oh, I don't know. Let's have a look on the phone.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would I know? Would I? Would I know? How,
all right.
Yeah,
So,
it's as high as it goes. But you know what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put you on a box, Karen, so that maybe that. Well, you know what? I'll just do this.
no, I think you could hear it enough, Rosemary. If you put it on, I think you could hear it.
Just say something now, Karen, and Jeff can let us know if it's the microphone is closer now. As long as I don't. Which end is the microphone? Is that the right end?
By where your mouth would go, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't ever put my mouth to my phone.
Well, you hold it the bottom part, however you hold it. Yeah.
So okay then. So anyway, all right. So hopefully I'll put the phone a bit closer, so we might be able to hear you a bit clearer. Can you
Okay.
say
Hi.
something? Just say something.
Yeah. Hi, Jeff.
Maybe Jeff can let us know if that's better. And maybe Karen, you could turn your sound up as well, and you know, maybe that might make a difference. All right, let's go back to this now. We've just heard Karen talking about the fact that she's lost 30 pounds, and I know that for a lot of people out there, 30 pounds is not a lot of weight to lose. All that effort, all that time, and you've only lost 30 pounds. Well, if you're 200 or over 200 pounds, 30 pounds is really just, you know, little chip off the block, so to speak. But first, let me tell you that Karen is, how tall are you, Karen? 5 foot and a bit?
Yeah.
And barely anything at all. And she weighed initially 160 pounds. And I know all of you out there are listening say, "Oh, only 100, what does she want to lose weight for? If it's just 160, you know, that's a great weight." But for Karen, because she's so tiny and so slim boned in lots of ways, that 30 pounds weighed very, very heavily. And certainly you would never call her obese, but there was an awful lot of fat there, especially around your bum, right, Karen?
Yeah. And I was finding around my back and my waist.
Right.
Definitely my tummy was getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. So, and what really did it, I think, what really made you realise is that Karen actually came, as she does, she comes to spend New Year's Eve with Samantha and I in New York, and Reese, should I say. And we went shopping in New York, and we saw this place that had a sale on jeans. And so she went to buy the jeans and couldn't get them on. You know how that is, or we women know how that is. So that was, I think, the incentive. And I think you thought, oh, you know, I better do something about this. But for people who, you know, need to lose weight, whether it's 10 pounds, 30 pounds, 100 pounds, whatever it is, I think it's so hard to do because people often do what I consider to be the wrong thing to do, which is they practically starve themselves for a while. They only eat, you know, sort of very little. They starve themselves. And inevitably, if you're going to starve yourself, sooner or later you're going to get fed up with it and you give up because, you know, nobody can sustain that for very long. So I think it's a combination of stuff. Now, I do have to ask you this, Karen. I know the answer, but everybody out there listening does not know the answer. Did you actually exercise?
I walk a lot. I'm a massage therapist, so I'm quite physical.
Yes, but you were doing that before you needed to lose weight, and
Yes.
You still put weight on even though you're physical. So in order to help with this losing weight thing, did you specifically do any exercises that would help you to lose weight?
Not extra than what I usually do.
No, see, she's my kind of gal. So Al, you and I talked about this. I think it might have been yesterday you and I talked about it. Now, here's the deal. When
I'm not endorsing this policy, by the way, but
I know you're not. I know you're not. No, I'm not asking you to. I know that you are a firm believer in exercise and eating right and all of that stuff.
yeah.
So, and for you, exercise it's very important. I know you go hiking, you do all of that. Do you bike ride sometimes? I think
Bike ride, weights, everything. Yeah.
you do weights as well. Oh God. Well, you know, I'm talking to the wrong person here because I don't. The idea of going to the gym is so appalling to me. Part of it, I have to say, is pride. Part of it is I haven't a clue what to wear. And all of you out there listening who know me know that if I don't know what to wear, it's not me. That is just not me because I always know what to wear. and I take great pride in being able to put stuff together so that I always look, okay. So, and I'm often accused of overdressing when really to me it's just a simple plain skirt and a nice blouse or a top or something. But going to the gym, what on earth do you wear? And whatever it is you wear, how much of a dork will you look if you have to wear it? I'm just pointing out here my point of view. That's all I'm just saying. So I'm with all of those people out there who desperately want to lose weight but do not want to exercise. I also firmly believe, but of course this is only me, and I know, and I am not suggesting that people should not exercise. I'm definitely not suggesting that. And I like to walk just like everybody else. And before I came to Florida, I could walk and walk. I mean, I was in the mountains of Vermont, and I walked 2 or 3 times every day, at least an hour and a half each time I went out. So I was getting an awful lot of exercise, and that really did help to keep my weight down. So I'm fully aware that exercise is very necessary. I'm fully aware that a lot of people like to do that for all sorts of health reasons, heart issues and strengthening muscles and so on and so forth. I'm just saying, for those people out there who get scared or worried that if they go on a weight regime or losing weight regime, that they feel that they're defeated before they start, because they feel that they can't do it unless they exercise. And I can testify to the fact that when I lose weight, which I do and have done successfully, I personally, now Karen did it one way. She went to one of these places and they order food and they send it to you and so on. I have this great app on my phone. It's called, I'm advertising now, but it's called MyFitnessPal. And actually what you do is you put in the food that you want to eat, and it just brings up the amount of calories. And as long as you stay under the radar of the amount of calories that that you want to eat, you can really monitor what you're eating. And I found that to be a great way to do it. I really did find that a great way to do it. And I went in at least once a day and sort of basically counted the calories. What I also like this program for, because I'm a cook, you can actually put in, if you're making cookies, for instance, you can put in, I'm going to give you my cookie recipe now for shortbread: 8 ounces of flour, 6 ounces of butter, 2 ounces of sugar, I think it is, and you put all of that in, and they will actually calculate, then divide by how many cookies, and you can actually calculate how many calories there are in each cookie. Now, I did it that way. That was great for me. It really worked for me. So everybody has their own way. Karen and I do not exercise, although Karen walks a great deal. I don't do that anymore because it's hard for me to do it in this particular area that I'm in. Al, have you ever needed to lose weight?
I think it depends on body type a lot, and I am, I guess, either blessed or cursed with a larger body type. And I have obesity in my family. So I am constantly having to watch what I eat. But for me, if I don't exercise as well, I don't, I have more fat on my body. So I need to do both. And I think it's a little bit different for men as far as muscle mass, and they recommend.
Yeah. It's easier for men.
Well, it's easier if you do it the right way. Like, so for men, they could use weights and become and their metabolism increases. What exercise does do, if you're trying to lose weight, is walking helps. Even if you just want to do something basic, it does increase your metabolism, make it easier to lose weight. So that's why I do it. If you do weights as well, weights actually increase your metabolism for the next 48 hours after you do weights. So exercise can help, but it's not for everybody. Older folks, may not be able to do it. Although I had an uncle.
Are you implying something there? You're not implying that I'm an older folk.
No, well, actually, I was going to bring up
I won't admit to that.
my uncle, my great uncle, who passed away a few years ago. He worked out till I think he was his late 80s when he passed away. He would do dumbbells when he till very late in life. So it's something that, for me, exercise is a key part of it, and it also helps me emotionally, mentally. But the bottom line is, if you could work out and exercise till you're blue in the face, if you're eating too many calories, and you're not curtailing what you eat, whether it's carbohydrates or calories in, you're not going to lose weight ever. And I'm at a point now where I'm trying to lose, 25, 30 pounds. So I think there's always people who do struggle with weight, have these ebbs and flows where you get up there and then you have to bring yourself back down. It depends a lot on your body type and your age too, right?
Do you think I'm not talking about age right now?
Well, your metabolism is proven. It slows down as you get older, right? So it becomes more difficult to lose weight as you get older.
Okay. Karen's agreed. Do you want to say anything about that, Karen?
No, I totally agree. I think that's what was, with like me going into my 60s, my metabolism is changing. And that's why how active I was, because I was quite active, I am quite active, that I was still gaining and gaining and gaining. But I think for me, it was the type of food I was eating. And it was taking charge of making sure I was eating healthier foods. And I learned something really interesting, because the one thing I got mixed up with was carbohydrates and fiber. And I increased my fiber intake, and that made a big difference. So I think sometimes, you do have to take charge and then be disciplined to follow whatever regime feels right for you. But I also think everybody has a different weight that's comfortable for them. And I wasn't feeling healthy or comfortable with the extra weight I was carrying. So I just knew I had to do something. And this worked.
So this is what I'm hearing. Of course, I could be wrong, but this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing, first of all, that it is possible, if you exercise, you can actually eat more and still lose weight. See, my mind is gone.
Yeah, I probably not the right mindset for that, but yeah.
I know, but it is a fact, isn't it, that you can, if you want that extra slice of pizza, you just need to exercise more later that day or the next day. That's fair to say, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So if you're really disciplined at exercising, you can have that extra pizza or whatever it is, and then that's okay. But like, if you are like me, I won't put Karen in there because Karen's an athlete, so she knows all about exercise. But if you're like me, who absolutely does not want to go to the gym because, number one, I don't want to look like an idiot, and I don't do well in those, whatever those things are that people wear around the legs, those skinny things. I don't do well with those. I'm much more sophisticated than that. But I also, another thing that confuses, and I'll be perfectly honest, I'm being perfectly honest here because I must be an extremely vain person when I'm talking about this. I'm obviously giving that impression. I try not to be, but obviously I am more than I thought, because I look around and everybody's using the equipment, and I do not know one dumbbell from another dumbbell except this dumbbell who's trying to figure it out. So even if I were to get on a machine, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I have had in the past personal trainers. I used at one point to have a personal trainer in my own house. But again, so this is another point if you're looking to lose weight. This is going to sound totally like an excuse, but it is not an excuse. I have an issue with my back. I'm missing a kidney. I'm missing a rib. I've got all sorts of plastic bits in my side. You can't tell just by looking at me, can you? I mean, I just look perfectly normal like everybody else. But my body over the years, because I've had major surgeries and I've had lots of kidney issues, my body has taken a real battering. And because of the fact that they couldn't get far enough inside of me in the surgery, they had to saw off a rib to get up in there to do whatever they had to do properly. It also, my spine is now very, very, very slightly, but that's all it needs, is very slightly out of line. So all I have to do is bend to pick up a chair and my back can go out easily. So again, my aversion to exercise has to do with health. And I know a lot of people out there are listening and saying, well, that happens to me as well. So I think, you know, we have to just find, each individual has to find the right way for them. And you have to figure out what is right for you and what works for you and what will sustain you. And I think that one of the dangers, and I'm sure that Karen's aware of this, but one of the dangers of ordering, the weight stuff that you can get through the mail, which is what Karen did. One of those dangers is that once you come off it, then what do you do? Now, I think they help you and guide you, but for, you know, what do you do? And so I don't think that we should be considering dieting, and I hate that word, dieting. And so, you know, can I say I've never dieted in my life? What I've done is I've tried to find a way of eating that is going to sustain me and work for me no matter what. So I think that instead of dieting and, you know, cutting stuff out that you really, really, really love, you can't, you know, gorge on it all the time. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense either. But finding a way of eating, finding a plan that's going to sustain you, not once you've reached your goal, but beyond that, to maintain the goal and to maintain, you know, your health, your strength, and all of those things. With my issues, kidney stuff and kidney stones and all of that stuff, it's maybe helpful in a weird way for me. My list of the things that I cannot eat and cannot drink is so huge. It's so long. People, if I were to list it here, nuts, berries, dark green leafy vegetables, spinach, dairy, you name it. There's so many things that I'm supposed to avoid. I cheat, of course, because nobody in the right mind can live quite well. People do, but I was in the right mind. Nobody would want to go on such an extreme diet. So I cheat, and I occasionally have things that I know that I shouldn't have. But at the same time, I'm in a weird way, I'm in a very fortunate position that I know if I eat that particular thing, it is poison to me, and it is going to cause kidney stones. And anybody out there who's had those, and when you've only got one kidney and you've got a tumor on your kidney, and on and on and on it goes, you are not inclined to eat things that you look at and you know that they have the potential to kill you. So in some ways, you know, that makes me fortunate because it makes me pay attention to actually what I'm eating. But I think that whichever way you go, and I use this, you know, this particular app. Karen, you've used your method. Al, what do you do? Just cut out pasta, what do you do? If you're going to lose 30 pounds or you want to lose 30 pounds, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? More exercise or?
And cut out. So I think it's a combination. For me, it's more exercise. Yes. And you have to do the right exercise. I mean, I have many issues with my back and bones and everything else. But
that would be my next question to you. How do you do it?
I honestly, I find that the weights and the exercise, my back is going to be in pain no matter what. I have about 8 to 10 herniated discs. I have bone spurs on my back. I have that bone spares everywhere in my body and arthritis and you name it in my joints. But if I don't exercise, it actually feels worse for me. So I'm going to be in pain no matter what. So I may as well be in a little bit of pain and especially
improve. It's a question of when you do exercise, you do strengthen the muscles in your back,
that's exactly
which then support your backbone.
yep.
There are certain exercises, if you don't want to go to the extreme and use weights, there are exercises that you can do. Walking up the wall is one of those exercises that will actually strengthen the muscles in your back, which then keep your spine pretty
So
much in
yeah,
place.
so I don't go to the gym, which I know you don't like. When I did go to the gym in the past, I would go in whatever I felt comfortable in, and I didn't really care what everybody thought. Um, uh, I even would go to the gym after work in my work clothes and get a workout in. I didn't care. But I actually do most of my stuff at home. I do push-ups. I don't use weights all the time. I do body weight exercises. So there's always stuff you can do. But Jeff made a comment, and I agree with you. You said if you exercise, you could eat more. And that's actually really
Typically.
but you can. But I think there's this thing called like essentially you when you do something good, like you exercise, you feel more so that you can treat yourself or reward yourself, and you end up eating more than you exercised off. So no matter what you do, if you're eating too much, even if you're exercising, I think Jeff said you can't outrun a bad diet, and that's one of the expressions that you hear a lot. You still have to find a way. And I agree with you. You have to learn how to eat. Karen mentioned like the high fiber stuff versus the simple carbs. I think carbs are a lot of people's issue. Sedentary and being sedentary and the carbohydrates, the empty calories. That's an issue for a lot of people. And if you can find a way to do that on a daily basis to cut back on those things. I mean, I'd like to ask Karen too. Like, how does she? This is a daily thing that you have to do, Karen, right? Like, how do you go about your daily life and like, what do you tell yourself? I know you said you passed by the pizza and you didn't eat the pizza. You eat the pre-made pizza at home. But how do you kind of convince yourself or tell yourself on a daily basis that this is the right decision or this is what you want to do?
She might be a bit crooked on the screen, but go ahead, Karen.
I think too, throughout the day, I found that this plan is very well set up. That you're eating like it's set up in a specific way with people who are nutritionalists that have set it up. So it's not like like in the morning you're loading up on a lot of protein, which is really good because that's what gives you energy to help you through the day. So like I would eat a lot of like a boiled egg. I'd have a protein drink. I'd have like a heavy protein or fiber breakfast cereal or something like that. And then you'd have your lunch, and then you'd also have protein and a fruit in the afternoon, and you would eat like 4 vegetables. So then a dinner. But I think because if I didn't eat very well through the day or kind of cheated, let's say, or slipped a little bit, then that's when I would want that kind of the other pizza. But I think it's just because I knew that it was unhealthy. Like in my head, I just had made a decision to eat healthier. And the more I stuck with this program, the healthier I felt. Because I was eating more. I've been eating more than I had been before. I was just because like you say, I was eating not good calories. I was eating empty calories. I was eating junk food more. So it was just eating properly and better foods.
There was a guy that I met in California. He was actually my driver when I was on a book tour in California. And he was completely set on the idea that if you ate something every 2 hours, your brain would know there's no point storing fat because you don't need it. So every 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, he would either eat one of those little tiny bags of peanuts, or he'd eat a little box, those little tiny boxes of raisins, or he would, you know, maybe have a, you know, stick of celery, or but he would try every 2 to 3 hours to put something in him to just munch on something. And actually, when it came to meal times, he wasn't as hungry, so consequently he ate less there. And he said that that was the way that he lost weight. There are a trillion ways of losing weight. We can all go on the internet, we can find what we like. But here is the issue: attitude is everything. Is the food controlling you? Is
Yeah.
what you eat controlling you, or are you controlling it? And it is so hard for people out there, especially people who are more obese. You get yourself into that rut. There seems to be no point in fighting it, and you allow the food to control you because, you know, well, hey, you know, you feel ugly anyway, or you feel fat anyway, so what's the point? And it's extremely hard for people. Once you get yourself into that situation, it's very, very hard for people to get out of it. So as we're going along and we're having this conversation, I'm going to sort of, you know, we're going to, and Karen, please join in. Let's look at the recipe that you might require if you are one of those people who has really, really struggled with your weight. And my heart goes out to you, because I know how difficult it is to set your mind to something that seems to be impossible. But I also believe that if you set your mind to something, nothing is impossible. So the first thing I would put into my mixing bowl, if I were to getting a recipe for this, the very first thing that I would put in there is to have a goal. And for people who are, let's say, bordering on obese or even obese, I think one of the mistakes that people make is they set their goal to impossible heights.
And they get discouraged. Yep. Yeah.
And, you know, let's say you're 350 pounds and you want to be 200 pounds. If you look at your goal as, you know, I've got to lose 150 pounds, that is so daunting. That is just too daunting. And the chances of failure increase because you've given yourself not an impossible goal, because people do it, but you've given yourself a goal that is so hard to reach. So I would say start your goal in increments of 30 or 50 pounds, whatever you feel comfortable with. And, you know, it's a little bit like years and years ago, my sister had a boyfriend. He was he was a bank manager or something, quite an arrogant person, actually. I didn't care for him too much, because one day I was visiting and he sort of was talking about money, and he said, well, everybody should have $1,000 in the bank. And at that time, £1,000 actually. I mean, at that time, the idea of £1,000 in my bank account was just beyond anything. It was just beyond anything I could envision. But that comment, as much as it was a little bit of arrogance from this guy, because he obviously didn't live in the real world, because nobody I knew had £1,000 in the bank, but it niggled at me. And so I started to save, and sometimes I'd put a pound in, a dollar. You get the difference in there. So sometimes I'd put a pound in, and sometimes I'd only put, 50p in, or 50 cents. Sometimes I would only be able to manage 20 cents, but I made a determination, and this was my goal, that every week I would put something in the bank, no matter what. And no matter what, unless it was a really dire emergency, I wouldn't take the money out. I made the $1,000. It took me a long time. It took me over a year to save it, which is, but the moment I made it, just hit the goal and went over a little bit, my very first thought was, now for the second 1,000. So if you can have that attitude of, right, let's do this in increments, what I can manage now, but I know that this is an incremental thing. So once I've made my goal, how about now the next step, which is the next 50 pounds or the next 30 pounds or whatever it is that you want to lose? Because as you do it in increments, I really feel that the people who are allowing the food to control them, which is a lot of people, you know, as they do it in small increments and don't give themselves such a high goal, gradually and in a much easier way, you start, maybe slowly, but you're starting to control the food as opposed to the food controlling you. So the first thing in the pot would be to have that goal. The second thing in the pot would be discipline, right? You've got to have a certain amount of discipline to try and do something every day to, you know, to help towards reducing your weight, whether it's exercise or not having that second slice of pizza or whatever it is that, you know, it is for you. And I think that the reason I like this app of you know, the counting calories, and there are loads of apps out there, the counting calories thing, I could actually look at the numbers. I had something to look at, and you know, and it made me realize if I went out to eat and I went to McDonald's, I'm looking at 800 or 900 calories right there on a burger. And if I've only got 1,000 calories, I'm not going to spend my calories that way, because I've got 3 meals at least to figure out for myself. So you find your own way, but you've got to have a certain amount of discipline and determination. So into the pot go the goal, discipline, somewhat of a determination. You
I'd
have,
say a plan.
Yeah, Rosemary, I would say, good.
Karen, go ahead.
Karen,
I would say you have to have a plan.
A plan.
Yeah, you kind of have to have a plan, and I think you have to kind of, because I did research it, so I think you have to like research
Educate
the plan and make sure it fits for you, like, and make sure that it's followed with experts or research that's kind of good research to back it. But I think you need a plan to follow.
A daily plan.
A daily plan, but also a kind of a plan on how you're going to go about doing it.
So Al, what were you going to say?
I was going to say there's been a number of studies on what you're talking about, essentially logging what you eat on a daily basis. The people, whether it's an app or writing it down or whatever it is, the people that actually logged what they ate on a daily basis were much more successful than those who did not. And it's for the reasons that you were talking about. So I think that's a big piece, that logging what you're eating, and what Karen said too, educate yourself on exercise that makes sense. I know we may vary a little bit on this, Rosemary, but exercise that makes sense for you. But
I agree with you. I agree.
So, and then what makes sense for someone who is in their 70s versus someone in their 20s, or someone who has a handicap or whatever it might be, is going to be different. So educate yourself on exercise that makes sense for you, and also educate yourself to have a healthy relationship with food and understand what's good for you, what's not good for you. And it may be dependent, like you, Rosemary, who has dietary issues, or someone with Crohn's disease, or a number of other ailments, right? So educate yourself on your body. And even if you have either the money or want to go for a free consult with a nutritionist, or do whatever you need to do to educate yourself about what it takes for you to be in good shape, right?
Yes, I also think that it's extremely important, and this is another thing going into the pot. We're going to stir this pot. This is a great recipe. I think another thing that is extremely important, if you can find a friend or a helper or someone, you know, who is willing to put you to task or do this with you.
Yeah.
Find a way to eat.
Rosemary, you
Or-
just a quick. I think you're going to lose Karen soon, so because I saw low battery there.
Yeah, I've just plugged it in.
Okay, good. All right, go ahead.
Just plugged it in. So if we lose you, Karen, we lose you. But I think finding a friend, finding a support, a person, go to. I know I have one particular friend who went to Weight Watchers, and she found that extremely helpful because every week they'd have to go in and weigh themselves, and there was always you know she said you always held your breath to see if you'd lost that half a pound or not. But finding a group or finding a friend or finding some real support from people is extremely helpful. I mean, I'm a person who doesn't necessarily need that support. Once I've determined I'm going to do something, then I'm just going to go and do it. But there are very few people who can do that. Most people want encouragement. They, you know, and of course you get encouragement when you've lost weight and you're looking good. You go out somewhere and a friend or somebody will say, oh, you know, wow, you look good, or you know, you've lost weight, whatever it is. That is kind of support. But for people who struggle, who really do, you know, struggle with losing weight, go find somebody's hand to hold. Ask a friend, ask a neighbor. You know,
Even
don't
online too, Rosemary. There are groups online you can join, and Facebook groups, online forums that can help if people are in remote locations or can't get out. There's a lot of that. Rosemary, can you just shift to your left? You're drifting. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
I'm leaning. Sorry.
We see half your face. Yeah.
I'm falling over. Sorry. I was trying to make room for Karen and I sort of took myself off.
You were losing half your face. You were drifting.
Let's not do that. No, I think, you know, I do appreciate, and I've spoken to many women, not so much with men, but women do come to me with these issues from time to time, and what can I do, and so on. And it is about making the plan, and it is about having the discipline to carry it through. But it's also about, you know, we talked about me not wanting to go to the gym. You have to swallow your pride sometimes. And this seems to be, you know, not that I'll go to a gym. I'm not swallowing my pride that far. It's like, you've not seen me in those stupid outfits that they wear. But you know, sort of reaching out, whether it's to, and you made a good point, an online class or an online person. There are lots of people out there who are very willing and able without you having to spend a great deal of money. And, you know, there are lots of support groups out there, anywhere and everywhere. There are so many support groups because I think, especially in America, but certainly, you know, in my country and the rest of the world, there are so many people who have serious, serious issues. And like Karen, sometimes, I mean, Karen, I think it's fair to say you work late, you know, when you're often not home until 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then she's got to eat. And it's so easy as you're passing the pizza place or as you're passing the fried chicken place or whatever it is. I mean, you know, the temptation to go in there and buy that, because who wants to start cooking for themselves at 9 o'clock at night when you've been working all day long? You just don't want to do it. So we take the easy road. And I see why people, I've done it myself, we see why people do take that easy road. However, it seems easy until you start getting sick. It seems easy until you start having heart problems or heart issues, or you start getting arthritis because you're eating too much dairy. Or, you know, I always say to people, if you're a person who has arthritis, no salt and nothing from the cow. Avoid the cow at all costs. That means including dairy. But there's goat's milk, there's soy milk, I mean, we live in a day, in an age that there are so many amazing substitutes. We don't have to suffer, do we, really, with food? But I'm going to say that one of the things I also think is very, very important is don't eat stuff that you don't like just because it doesn't have calories. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Find food that you like to eat, right, Karen? Would you say that?
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's why I think this worked for me, because I really liked it. There's a lot of foods that I was able to eat that I didn't feel like I was missing out on the stuff that that I would have missed out on otherwise. Like, I was still able to eat chocolate. And there were snacks at night, which included popcorn and chips and, like good, like things like that. Now,
you were going to say good stuff, weren't you?
well, but it's all in proportion.
Could you tell me what's good about popcorn? Forget it.
Well, fiber.
Oh, you got me there.
So popcorn is high in fiber and antioxidants. It's actually a good snack.
Is it really?
As long as you don't get like the buttered up stuff.
I was going to say, I have to tell you that I now feel so much better about going to the movies with my friend Mary Lou, where we had a big bag of popcorn and I drenched it inside and out with.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good though, right? You're telling me that's not good? Oh, well, of course I know that. And of course I knew that while I was eating it. And that's another thing we need to do, is to pay attention to, we know when we're eating stuff that either isn't healthy for us or is, going to pile on the pounds. So you can't say that you're ignorant and, I didn't know if I ate that whole pizza that I'd put weight on. You can't say that, because of course you do know that. But I know that a lot of people who struggle with weight, they'll I don't know who they think they're fooling, because they're not really fooling anybody at all when they have these hidden snacks under the bed, or they have hidden snacks in the bedside table, and when nobody's looking, or they think that nobody's looking, when nobody's looking, they pull out the goodies, they pull out the chocolate bar, and so on, and they'll look you right in the eye and say, I don't understand why I'm this weight, because I hardly eat anything. And I just, okay then, if that makes you feel better. But
Rosemary, it goes back to the discipline piece, right? I mean, I had a friend who's overweight, and this person would tell me what they ate for the week or whatnot, and then they'd tell me how many times they cheated, essentially. And it turned out this person would told me they cheated Saturday, they cheated Sunday, they cheated Tuesday. And
it's not true, don't you?
I'm thinking, even if it is true, that's 3/7 of your week, right, that you're not going to lose weight. It's daily discipline.
The thing is that you're not cheating anyone but yourself.
That's exactly right.
Actually, you're just cheating yourself. And I can tell you the amount of people who have come to me for a consultation who've been absolutely shocked when let's say their mother in the spirit world says, I can see that secret stash you keep in your drawer it is. So you might think that nobody sees you eating that secret stash, but we all know that those in the spirit world absolutely see you eating what you're not. So even when you're snacking because you think nobody can see, trust me, somebody can see. Where we've all got, it's a bit, I sound a bit like that Big Brother's watching, but it's the amount of times I've had to say to somebody, your mother or your father, so you've got to stop eating those chips because you're going to end up with a heart attack. You're going to have serious health issues. And they look at me, and I've even had people say to me, I don't eat a lot of chips. And well, that's not what your mother's telling me.
If there is another ingredient, it's to be truthful with yourself, right? And not rationalize or justify things that are not good for you, and then get upset with yourself later on.
Oh.
Right? I mean, essentially, be truthful at the moment of deciding whether you're going to eat something or not. Make it your decision too, because a lot of people get food offered to them as well. Like if you have, like my family, food is love, Italian family, food is love, eat, eat, eat. What I've learned to do is no, thank you. And then it's my decision, right? So make it.
But there are those people, you brought up a good point, and I know we're sort of coming to a point where we're going to close any time now. Yeah. I'd like to, if we have any comments, I'd like to.
A lot of comments, actually, yeah.
Well, good. I know that this is a subject that interests a lot of people, and we should maybe revisit this and talk about this again. But what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going. What we were talking about? It's gone out of my head. I was completely gone. Oh, I know what I was
The
going to say.
people that
Wait.
your face, yeah.
It's a really good thing I've got people I can talk to in the spirit world, because otherwise I wouldn't have anything to say to anybody. I'd forget all the time. Right. Here's another thing which really does happen, and it's the same with people who smoke. It's the same with people who drink. It's the same as people who don't have a healthy diet or whatever. There's always that person who oh, go on, you can just have one. Just have one cigarette. Just go on, have another drink. Nobody's looking, nobody's watching. Well, actually, I've just blown that idea out of the water for you.
Misery loves company, I think is the saying, right? Misery loves company.
Misery loves company, and there are always those people who, and I do think there's a lot of this going on. They'll encourage somebody to eat because they want that person to only love them, and if that person were to lose that weight and start to sort of get healthier, maybe they might not want me around. I think it's a subconscious thing that goes on with some people when it's, oh, I've made you a lovely dinner, when you know perfectly well that person walked out the door in the morning and said, please don't make me a huge dinner, I don't want any carbs, I'm losing weight. And there are people who just have a hard time allowing it, so you've got to be very strong and determined that you refuse temptation. So let's have a look at this a bowl of ingredients first of all, and then we'll have the comments. So and if anybody's out there listening and you haven't made a comment yet, get on with it, because we like to know what you're thinking. So okay, so a goal, a plan, discipline, determination to control the food rather than allow the food to control you, incremental goals, smaller. Don't start big. Don't give yourself a goal that you really it just overwhelms you. Just the idea of it overwhelms you. So think smaller in increments. Do it in increments. What else did we say, Al? What else is in the pot?
Educate yourself about the right foods for you and exercise.
Yes, and don't eat food that you don't like, because if you do, you won't sustain it. And this is not a diet for 6 months or a year. This is a diet for life we're talking about. So, that's, you want to not only reach your goal, but sustain the goal. Anything else from you, Karen?
Log to it.
Being like Al said, being honest and truthful with yourself.
Yeah.
I also think you can also reward yourself once in a while. Like I mean like if you do well one week and you stick to your goal, there's no reason why. It doesn't hurt sometimes to give yourself a little reward or a pat on the back instead of
there's no reason why you can't go out and eat that 800 calorie.
No.
So no, I am kidding. I'm kidding.
If you go up and down.
Yeah.
Like do be gentle with yourself and reward yourself once in a
while. Just don't let that reward extend to day 2, 3, 4. That's
right? But I think Karen, that's a really good point. That actually needs to definitely go in the bowl. Don't despair if you did eat that second pizza. Just don't do it every day. Don't get
right back on the horse, right? Get right back
on if you can. And remember, I think it's also very important, and we're going to go to the comments. But I think it's very, very important to remember there are so many places out there. Weight Watchers is only one of them. The MyFitnessPal that I have used is really excellent, or some sort of an app like that you can get.
Yeah, Rosemary.
There are groups.
Yeah, Rosemary, it's two different things, right? It's the logging with like the apps or writing it down, and then what you're talking about. There's a bunch of ingredients in this one, right? And what you're talking about is either a Weight Watch or some kind of support, right? Whether it's online or
Definitely.
face-to-face.
And instead of feeding on that extra slice of pizza, feed on the ingredients in the bowl, because they will sustain you and they will keep you healthy. And they will, if you use them correctly, they will abate the hunger and the need for you to let the food control you. Let's have some comments, shall we?
Yeah.
Please.
I'll read some. And I think a key thing is, if you think about food as almost an entity in itself, like you were saying, who owns who is a really key thing. Like who has the power and the control to make the right decision for you.
Yeah.
And that's a really key thing to remember. So we have Christina said in the beginning, we have so much fun before it even goes on. Yes, she knows. She was on here. She knows how much fun we have. We have fun on the show and before the show, right?
Always.
Jeff
Well,
says,
hold on a minute. Everything is attitude, after all.
yes,
And we have a fun, positive attitude. So
exactly. So, and things don't always work out when we're trying to get on, but it's okay. It worked out.
Yeah.
Jeff has a number of comments. He said we look great, and we could see Karen. He talked a few times about you have to eat fewer calories, even if you exercise. If you're eating too many calories, you're not going to lose weight. Violet actually chimed in a few times as well. 30 pounds is huge. She said it's 60 packets of lard. I'm not sure what that means, but put
60 what?
60 packets of lard.
Well, lard is Crisco.
So that's a lot. So if it's 60
packets of Crisco is 30. Oh gosh, what a horrible! Thank you, Violet.
Great. What was Oprah that?
Yeah, she's right. Yeah.
Didn't Oprah do that thing with the bag of fat, basically, and that's what she had lost? And those kind of things. Those kind of things, though, help you.
Visual.
It's bad for you, right? Those visuals, yeah. Lori says athletes have the toughest time. Muscle tissue is difficult to change. Jeff says next time he comes to Florida, he's going to take you shopping for stylish fitness clothes.
Forget that. I'm not spending money on those.
Natasha says good day from Australia. Violet says unless you work out, weight is a symptom, and if you're eating too much, working out's not going to do much. Lots of people eat and drink too much.
See, Violet is my kind of a person.
Lots of people
going to the gym either.
Just remember, you don't have to go to the gym to exercise. Even if you have rosemary.
And it is, and I will be the first person to say that walking is a brilliant exercise, and we all should do more of it.
Yeah, walking is something most people can.
But don't please, everybody out there who's listening, don't get the impression that I'm against exercise, because I am absolutely not.
I don't know why did we get that impression, Rosemary. But.
Really? Well. Yeah.
Violet says lots of people eat and drink too much because of stress, depression, emotional issues, as well as gluttony, laziness, bad learning, financial issues. So it's a two-pronged approach. Yes. Lori says weight has always been an issue for me. She actually has been underweight at times, on the opposite side of it 3 times in her life. And I think it's about, no matter where you are on the spectrum, it's about developing a healthy relationship with food, right?
I used to, when I was a teenager and into my 20s, there was you know how you have these protein drinks? There was a drink that was called Weight On. And I would guzzle 2 of those every day because I was so skinny. And it did not help one jot.
Yeah. It depends on body too. I mean, my middle son, we get everything we can in him because he never gains weight. So
yeah, I used to have hollow legs, they said. Not anymore, unfortunately, since I have my daughter. That went south. But do we have any other comments?
It says being disciplined, organized, and making the choice to continue while knowing your why is empowering. It allows you to keep a good attitude and continue. Jeff says staying hydrated is critical. Judith, determined and disciplined, accountability. A lot of things we're saying, right? And let's see, we have a good popcorn. Judith says, I pop myself with no butter. Again, popcorn's good for you, just the butter is what's bad. A lot of times it's the toppings that are bad, not the initial food.
I know.
Drink more
But
water.
the problem is
Violet
that popcorn by itself is so dry. I'm not doing very well here, am I? I'm not encouraging people at all. I'm giving all the reasons why we should have it with butter.
And then Violet said one last comment. Don't put rubbish in your grocery shopping. If it's in your cupboards, give it away. And that's a great ingredient too. We didn't even talk about that. Don't
that
right?
that. Thank you for that, Violet, because
Yeah,
that is actually perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't buy it, the only way you can get it is if you go out to eat, dinner, or if friends come over, and have a ban on friends who bring carbs when you're not eating carbs. Learn to say no. I think is very important.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say thank you, Karen. Thank you. We're out of time, but it's a good topic and lovely to have so many comments and so many people join us. So thanks for, there's a poor connection. You can't even see her anymore. But can you hear me, Karen?
Yes, I can hear you.
So say bye-bye to everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a good
night. So thank you to Karen, and Al, thank you. Once again, you've proved to be a great co-host on this lovely show. If you out there have an issue you'd like us to talk about, or if you'd like to come on the show, you don't even have to necessarily be on camera. You saw how we did it with Karen. We could see her sometimes and not others, and it works pretty well. You don't even have to give your real name if you're embarrassed to do it. It's fine by us.
Yeah, you can just have the voice going. We won't even show who you are. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, I think it's, if you want to come on to discuss something, or if you have a great topic that you'd like us to discuss, email us. Info. See, I surprised you, didn't I?
Yeah.
info@everythingisattitude.com, and Al will be scrolling through those emails, or you can email al@alpasano.com. You can also, if you want to know more about me or more about what we do or what we're going to be doing in the future, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, all of those great places. And you can also email me, rosemary@rosemarialtea.com, if you want to know more about our classes or about whatever else it is we're doing.
Workshops coming up too, Rosemary, right? June 1st. Yep.
We're hoping.
Yeah. It's on. We're doing it. June 1st.
Inches. We're actually also, while we're on the subject, we are going to be sending out on Facebook. We're going to be sending out what is it?
A poll. Yeah.
A poll. We're going to send out a poll, POLL, to get people to say, if we did a workshop, what subject would you like? And we're going to give you a choice of, I think, 3 or 4 subjects, and you click on the one that you might be interested in or you think might.
And we may even do a write-in option, Rosemary. I'll talk to you about that, where if we're not thinking of something, somebody could write something in too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you've got any suggestions. The workshops, though, will not be about attitude as well. They will, but the workshops will be me talking about the work that I do, talking to the spirit world and all of that sort of thing. So good stuff there. So we shall be back on Thursday morning. There's so much to say. We'll be back on Thursday morning on our YouTube show, The Spirit World Sees All, and please either email us or go to I've got 3 Facebook pages. I don't know why, actually. Well, it's because I can't get rid of them. Can't get rid of one. Don't know how to do it. But if you go to Facebook, and you can write comments on there, or you can even see me singing. I made a little singing video. It's so funny that you have to watch it. Every time I see it, I laugh. I forget the words and all of that, and there's no music in the background. I make my own, but it's fun. We do have fun. Christina's right. We like to have fun because we have a very positive and a very wonderful attitude. And with that said, until we see you again, please, 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 all of my students can chime in here. Have a very, very, very blessed